Hey guys, welcome to the Trash Picture Show. I am back looking at some of my favorite video games, and today the console I'm looking at is the Xbox 360. There is a massive library of games on this console that I love, but I've narrowed it down to my top 10 favorite games. And again, these are my favorite games. These aren't what I consider the best. So yeah, let's get this show on the road.
10.
At number 10, we have Spec Ops The Line. This is from 2K Games and is a third-person cover-based shooter. And yeah, there was a lot of these for the 360 at the time, Gears of War being the most obvious. But this one is interesting because the story is very engaging. You lead a team of special ops soldiers into the city of Dubai, which is now a desolate wreck thanks to the actions of a jingoistic general. And the game essentially makes you question your moral choices and the genuine choices you make in combat games in general. Is it morally okay to shoot someone because they're shooting back at you? Is it okay to make decisions that might have a knock-on effect on your team? It is an absolutely interesting game that takes a couple of pages from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. The cover mechanic and the gameplay itself is brilliant. You do have to use a lot of the environment in order to surpass enemies and defeat them. And the voice cast, which includes Nolan North and Bruce Boxleiter, do an amazing job at fleshing out these characters. Again, it's a really engaging game, and one of the most interesting features is during the loading screen, it makes you question your actions in the prior levels. So if you haven't played Spec Ops The Line, give it a go. While it may seem like a generic cover-based shooter, it does a lot of interesting things and asks a lot of interesting questions that other games may not even think about.
9.
Number 9, we have one of the few cases where a movie tie-in game surpasses the material it's based on. The Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena, is a brilliant first-person shooter that not only requires brute force but a lot of stealth and a lot of patience. This is essentially an expansion for the original Xbox release, Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay. And again, Vin Diesel provides his likeness and voice along with a brilliant voice cast to this game. If you're a fan of stealth games and if you're a fan of the Riddick franchise, this is one to check out. Lots of atmosphere, lots of cool moments. Probably my favorite is taking over the drones and cutting loose, because a majority of the game you will be using stealth. So when you do get to cut loose, it is an absolute badass moment. Again, if you're a fan of stealth-based first-person combat games like Thief and such forth, this is definitely one to check out and easily wins the number 9 spot for me.
8.
Number 8 is Saboteur from Pandemic Studios. This is from the same crowd that made the Mercenaries game, and this is absolutely brilliant fun. Essentially, it's set during World War II, and you take the role of a belligerent Irish race car driver who also has a dab hand with explosives. I know, an Irish person who's capable with explosives. That's totally fucking unheard of. But yeah, this is such a fun game. You essentially get to drive, blast, and blow your way through World War II era Paris. You get to kick the shit out of the Nazis. You get to blow a hell of a lot of shit up, and you get to be a badass while doing it. Another cool element about this game I loved is as the game progresses, you liberate the districts, because when the game starts off, a majority of the game is in black and white, but as you liberate the districts, color returns to the game. So that's a really cool and interesting mechanic. Again, I like the character, even though it's obvious Robin Atkins Downs isn't Irish. He's doing his best and he makes a very, very likable character. Again, if you're a fan of the Mercenaries games or even GTA, this is definitely one to check out.
7.
At number 7, we have an entry from Valve. Now, a lot of people probably would have preferred another Half-Life game, but I gotta say, Left 4 Dead is absolutely great fun. This is a first-person zombie shooter, and yeah, if you have a bunch of friends with a bunch of beers, this can be great fun. The story, and there isn't much of one, you play one of 4 survivors during the zombie apocalypse, and have to team up in order to fight hordes upon hordes of zombies with a variety of weapons in some very spooky and cool locations. Again, this is probably best enjoyed with a bunch of mates and beers, but that said, the AI is competent enough to let you enjoy this game solo. But as I said before, to get the right experience of playing Left 4 Dead, it's best to have some mates over or play online. Again, sure, we probably would have loved if Valve gave us another Half-Life, but Left 4 Dead is far from a slouch of a game, and Valve knocked it out of the park with this one.
6,
Yes, I know what everyone's thinking. Why has he Far Cry 2 in here? Because I think it's one of the last great Far Cry games. The other ones went for pomposity and bombasticness. This one is grounded, it's gritty, it's cool. Essentially, you're a mercenary in Africa trapped in the middle of a civil war, and you're just trying to survive. This game is just bare bones, but that's what makes it work. There's no magical powers, there's no super weird rockets, there's no little chihuahuas with miniguns or evil twins or apocalyptic stories or prehistoric monsters. You are just a merc in the middle of a civil war, and you are using whatever weapons you have at your disposal, be they rusty pieces of shit or new stuff you buy from the shop. But be warned, if you get a subpar shitty weapon, it may literally blow up in your hands. That's one of the elements I love about this game. The other cool element is the fire effects. This is one of the first games to introduce a fire mechanic where you fire a Molotov cocktail off or use a flamethrower, you can cause a bushfire that can just as easily kill you as kill the enemy. Again, Far Cry 2 is an absolute legend of a game. I think the Far Cry games that followed really lost their way, but this is probably Ubisoft and the Far Cry series at their peak, and if you haven't played this, I highly recommend it.
5,
Next up we have Dead Rising. Yes, this is another entry from Capcom that involves zombies, but whereas the RE series is very serious and down and dour and dark and conspiratorial, this is just fucking fun. Essentially, you play a photojournalist by the name of Frank West who sneaks into a quarantine area and finds himself trapped in a mall with hundreds upon hundreds of zombies. And yeah, this is just so fucking wacky and crazy and fun. There is so much to see and do in this video game. If you want to dress in women's underwear, wearing a Lego head and armed with a golf club, beating the shit out of zombies, you can do that. If you want to drive around the basement of the mall in a go-kart running over hordes of zombies, you can do it. If you want to stop from rescuing survivors to drink some vodka and eat some burritos, you can do that as well. Dead Rising is something that a lot of modern games are missing these days, and that's fun. There's just so much fun you can have with this game, and that is why it easily gets the number 5 spot for me.
4,
At number 4, we have Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. I love this game. If you ask me, this is up there with the top 10 best movie tie-in games there is. This is another entry from Ubisoft, and the crew that worked on it is the same team behind Beyond Good and Evil. They have crafted such a beautiful game that works in companion with the movie. In fact, Peter Jackson ensured that this video game adaptation would be something he was proud of. He was rather disappointed with the Lord of the Rings video games, but with this, he just felt that it needed to be perfect, and it fucking was. Essentially, you get 2 game formats in this. You get a first-person survival, dare I say horror, with Jack Driscoll, voiced by Adrian Brody. In fact, most of the cast comes back, including Naomi Watts and Jack Black, and they all give a fantastic performance. Essentially, it's the same plot as the movie. You have to rescue Anne from Khan, but the other segments of the game you can play, you actually play as the titular Khan himself, having to protect Anne from the various predators and creatures on Skull Island. Again, you're getting 2 game styles for the price of one, but it's the mechanics that make this game. You can't just shoot your way out of a situation. Ammunition is finite, so you have to use the environment in order to survive. They've even crafted a food chain system where certain animals will attack certain animals if you injure them or if you throw them bait. So again, it's ingenious how this game was crafted, and your AI companions as Jack Driscoll are no fucking slouches. They will save your arse so many times, so it's essential you look after them. Again, it's one of the few movie titles I highly recommend you check out, and most definitely gets the number 4 spot on this list.
3,
So yeah guys, remember I was talking about earlier on where video games needed to be fun? Well, here is a prime example in the form of number 3. Bayonetta is so fucking fun, so crazy, so kinetic, that the only way to describe it is it's like Devil May Cry if our lead character was a Kardashian with a sexy English accent and likable. Yeah, Bayonetta plays a witch who must fend off hordes of bizarre looking angelic foes with her pistols, some of which are attached to her high heel shoes, and use her sassiness and sexiness to defeat them. Again, if you're a fan of, say, Devil May Cry or God Hand, this is definitely one to play. The gameplay is so crazy, so fucking bombastic and off the wall, you cannot but enjoy this game, and it is certainly helped by our seductive, badass lead of Bayonetta. Again, you don't know if she's going to shoot her enemy or tie him to a sex device and make them orgasm to death. It is that crazy of a fucking game. If you haven't played Bayonetta and are a fan of the likes of Devil May Cry, you have to check out this crazy serving from Sega. It is mental, it is all over the place, and it never gives you a moment to breathe, and you will enjoy every moment of it. It's really sad that the sequel was only a Nintendo exclusive, because I would have liked to have played a follow-up on the 360, but I suppose them are the breaks. Still though, you cannot go wrong with the original Bayonetta, which is why it gets me my number 3.
2,
At number 2, we have my favourite video game from Rockstar. Yes, I love Manhunt and GTA kicks arse, but you cannot beat their foray into the Wild Wild West with Red Dead Redemption. This is just an absolute fucking treasure of a game, and be it the gameplay or the characterization or the storyline, this to me is a flawless game. I love playing the character of John Marston. His story is so compelling, and because we learn more and more about him and his situation, we want him to succeed, we want him to survive, which is why later on in the game it's a bit of a gut punch. But again, that's just another element of Rockstar. To quote The Godfather, just when you think you're out, they pull you back in again, and that's what this game does. The shooting mechanics are excellent, the riding mechanics are brilliant, it is just a polished game. And yes, there are some badass Wild West games such as its precursor, Red Dead Revolver and Gun. This one is the absolute top of the totem pole, and if you ask me, it's still better than its sequel. I don't know why, I just find myself going back playing this more than I do its sequel on the Xbox One. To me, Red Dead Redemption is an absolute treasure of a game. If you haven't got a chance to play this, do, regardless what console you're on, or if you have a PC, track down Red Dead Redemption, because it's a must if you are a video game or a Wild West fan.
1,
And number 1, we have Alien vs Predator from Rebellion. Yes, Rebellion returned for a third outing in the AVP franchise. Their first AVP game was for the Atari Jaguar, and then they done a brilliant first-person shooter for the PC back in 1999. And they return with this game, and I love it. It's not perfect, it's not without its issues, but for me, this is one I will always return to when I turn on my 360. If ever I'm not sure what to play on the Xbox 360, I always slap this on. And the other great thing was the game was so popular that they upgraded it to be playable on the Xbox One, so I was absolutely delighted with that. The story isn't anything to sing and dance about. It does take a lot of beats and nods from the AVP movies, involving an ancestor of Charles Bishop Wayland, Carl Bishop Wayland, who fucks around with a predator pyramid and as a result puts his entire colony in danger. This attracts the attention of not only the colonial marines, but a clan of predators, and essentially instigates a three-way war between all the species. Again, like the other AVP games, this is a first-person combat fair. And I'm not going to say shooter because obviously the Xenomorph doesn't use guns. So there is 3 different distinctive ways to fight in this game. You can be the Marine going in guns a-blazing, which is your standard FPS. You can be the Predator who uses stealth and some advanced weaponry to cut his way through both the Xenomorph hive and the Colonial Marines. And lastly, there's the totally stealth dependent Xenomorph who must stalk Weyland-Yutani facilities and ancient predator temples in order to free his queen. It is a great game with some absolutely fucking shockingly gory kills that is the cherry on top of this brilliant FPS. And if you haven't played this game and call yourself an Alien or a Predator fan, you are doing yourself a massive disservice, and this one easily wins the #1 spot for me. So yeah guys, they are my top 10 Xbox 360 games. What are your favourites? Let me know in the comments below. My name is Martin, this has been the Trash Picture Show, and yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.